in America, they changed the spelling. They said they made it easier, but we have words like, color, where there should be an OU in there,
Yeah.
but the Americans spell it as color.
That's good.
The reason they say, well, it's the same sound, this is easier, but the truth is, it was political. They changed the spelling to say, you're British, we're American, we're different,
Yeah.
screw you, England. That was the reason why. So, and the problem is, you lose information. There's a reason for this U in here. This is from the French spelling EUR. Le. Right? So in French, when we have words with EUR, they become OUR in English. So there's a reason for the spelling, and if we just take that away, then we lose information from the word. So yeah, in Canada, actually, this is how we do it. We have the American pronunciation type of things, mostly, the standard, easy to understand pronunciation, but we keep the British spelling.
So should you have an American pronunciation and a British
Spelling, yeah. It's not technically really just American pronunciation. This part of this part here, more or less, of Canada and the States has roughly a neutral sound. It doesn't have a very strong accent. Over here, we have a very strong accent in TY, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with all of the East Coast in the States, and the southern parts of the States, and this part of the States. They all have different accents. And some of them are hard to understand. I don't understand them, right? But this sort of central area, mostly we all have the same pronunciation. So it's what I encourage students to try, to go for, because it's easier to understand. O and O, they're too similar, right? But if you make O and A and E, then you really hear the difference. So more people will understand you. Yeah. So it's a really important issue, it is. Okay? Okay, now try that in English. Remember, pick one of these words. When. When did I come? To Taiwan. Alright, when did I come to Taiwan? I came here about 20 years ago.
Not long.
Yeah.
More long
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been here 20 years. It's been fun, yeah. I don't plan to ever go back to Canada. Yeah. Taiwan is a better country.
But the Taiwanese doesn't.
I know. Taiwanese, everybody feels that way. We have the expression, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Right? How do you say that one in Chinese?
Just like others grow face better.
Yeah.
It's just like
You have an expression like that, right? So people have this idea where when they're growing up, all they see is the problems, right? And they think that if I go to another country, they won't have the same problems. It's kind of true, but there are different problems, right?
A place just have a problem.
Yeah.
It's not the same way to
Yeah.
it is before.
But honestly, I like Taiwan's problems better
Yeah.
than Canada's problems. So,
No, it's probably more smaller.
well, they're more honest,
Yeah, more honest. Just
Like when people in the government, when they disagree with each other,
they always go blame them.
well, and they throw food at each other.
Yeah.
Taiwan is honest that way. if I disagree with you, I'll just, I'll throw something at you, and then you know that I disagree, right? Whereas in the West, I'll say, that's interesting.
You have to pretend you agree with him, but this is the background. You just why he say that? Just like that.
So yeah. Okay. Other questions? As long as we're doing something in English, it's still good practice. If nothing else, you can practice listening, right? But it is still important that you try to ask more questions. Because like I said, if you have a problem, it's a place where you can learn. 不了解的地方，有问题的地方，真的需要问。问可以开始了解，可以开始能找好的。Right? So you really have to ask. So, other questions?
This music is valuable.
Which one, sorry?
Listening.
Listening.
Music is the way to improve, right?
It can be helpful. But the problem is, again, it's how you do it. All of these different skills, they need to be done right. With listening, you need to focus. If you don't focus, if you don't pay attention to what you're listening to, it's 没有用.
But I heard a song like a million, like 100 times, and I got the thing that he wants to say. Just not focus on this another way.
But you get a lot of mistakes that way. You think you hear it, but you hear a lot of mistakes. Not his mistakes, but you hear it wrong. And then every time you hear it, and your brain tells you what you're hearing,
but you can't speak.
You're learning a mistake.
Oh.
Even if you don't say it yourself, you think that's what you're hearing, so you're teaching your brain, when I hear that sound, it's this word. Alright?
Yeah.
So sometimes, it works out okay. But often that's where these mistakes come from, that just end up being repeated and repeated.
Oh.
And then it gets very hard to teach yourself to correct it. It's like a habit, The more you do it, the harder it is to stop. So really listening, if you want it to help you, you have to focus. And if you think, is he saying this or is he saying that? You'll want you to write it down and then find out, Because if you just kind of let it go, then it just gets worse and worse. Yeah.
But in some times it will correct it by itself.
Sometimes. But, it's like if the doctor says, this is heart or is lung?
Sometimes sometimes you don't.
50-50 chance,
Yeah.
right? But that's not a good way to make some decisions. So yeah, listening can be helpful, but
Have to focus.
you have to focus. Okay. Now, you were mentioning about speaking. For all of you, if you want to practice speaking, here's the thing. Each of these other skills, when you are reading and you come to a problem, you can fix the problem. The important thing is to not look here right away. If you're reading and you don't quite understand, keep reading. Look at the pictures. If your book doesn't have pictures, then look at other places with the same word. Right? If you're reading and you don't know a word, don't look it up right away. Try to guess. Right? Don't just close your eyes and guess, but think about the context, what is around it, what the story is about. Pictures, yeah. If you try to figure it out, it's like a game. And as you work at it, maybe you'll get the right answer, maybe not. But if it's not a really important word, you can keep going anyway. Right? You only have to stop when you did a double dong. then you have to stop and look it up. But if you go double down, then it's too hard for you anyway. Okay? So when you're reading and you come to a problem, you should try to solve it on your own. Take time, read it again, think about it. Read the next page, think about it. Maybe you have to go back a couple pages, read it again, right? But you can fix the problem. When you're writing, you have to fix the problem. 有写错，用字典看, right? It's not really the right word, use a dictionary, find another word. I'm not sure about the grammar, say it a different way. The boy goes to the store. The boy goes quickly to the store. Quickly, the boy goes to the store. The boy goes to the store quickly. You know, try to do it a different way. 有问题, fix the problem. If you're listening and there's a problem, fix the problem. If you're listening to a song, listen to it again. Find the words. If you're listening to somebody, ask. You have to open your mouth and ask. Right? This is one of the most important listening skills. Now, when you are speaking and there's a problem, don't try to fix the problem. Just try to keep going. When you're speaking, you don't try to stop and pick the right word. You try to go around it. Pick a different word. Do you remember that term, or have you ever heard the term coping strategies? I talk about it often, so I'm not sure if I use it when you were here before. Coping strategies.
No, I know. Just copying the word that we know and just tell, and he will understand what you're talking about.
Find a different way to express it. If I want to get from here to there, when I'm speaking, I can't just stop and deal with the problem. What I can do is, I see a problem, I try to keep going. I go around it. I find a different way. Right? Not to solve the problem, to get past the problem. When you're speaking, you don't try to fix the problem. After you're done talking, you can write it down, you can look it up, you can ask. But right now, when you're talking, keep going. Go around it, use your gestures, right? Use another language, do something, but keep going. So that's a really big issue for speaking.
But most of the time, it's just stop and think the word and just tell.
And that's why they don't speak, right?
They're afraid to speak.
So 练习也很重要的，但是也可以用中文练习 right? How do you guys feel about speaking in front of your class?
You feel expressed.
Right? Even if it's in Chinese, if the teacher says, okay, stand up and tell us a story. 我也不好意思.
Yeah. Definitely,
Right?
yeah.
So that's something